All right, let's call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee. We are May 23rd, having survived another set-to-my weekend. We have a quorum present, and we are certified and compliant with open meetings law. And for public comment, nope. I think you'll be on later, right? Is that what for our last item on agenda?
You tell me, because I was looking at the
Yep.
agenda and I wasn't sure how to read that.
Okay. Nope, we've got you on number 12 if you're on for Juneteenth event. Is that correct? All right, then we'll hold until then. Are there any communications from anyone? We did have the bit in there about the shared ride service and then what the impact that will have. We'll find out yet. Mayor, do you know if a meeting was set for talking about what will happen with shared ride service, at least as far as the granting and that goes?
Yeah, Dave was handling that, so when he
Yep.
gets back, we'll follow up on
Sure.
that. I think that, people kind of understand what this situation is, so I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but it just needs to have the conversation. I would share that there was another state budget hearing today. This was the Senate hearing. The Assembly met, a couple weeks ago. So there was groups of people up at the Capitol again today, and they're trying to put together the final touches. I did send some items to our lobbyist and to Senator Spreitzer. He's actually on the Senate committee that's looking at the budget, and most of the comments I sent today were regarding some of the incentives that they're trying to build in, revolving loan funds, trying to spur economic development in vacant buildings. We have several of them on Main Street, and my communication is we already have 2 revolving loan funds. I would prefer if they would issue more grant money, because the reason people are looking for money is because they have options. They have our revolving loan, they have the bank. So chances are, if they're able to get a loan, they can already do that through the means possible. So I was suggesting they maybe increase money into historical preservation, or possibly, offer some more money to WIDA, although there is some provisions in there for that as well. And then the other one would be the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. Mm-hmm. Their budget's been reduced over the last several years. I think it would be advantageous to try to replenish that, because if you get a loan, it's paperwork, time, and effort to go into it. I don't think it'll be as attractive as if somebody would apply for a grant and facilitate a quicker process to get these upgrades done, because we know we have a housing shortage. So those are the basic points that I was trying to make. And then they're still optimistic that some sort of an adjustment to the formula for shared revenue, what they would basically do is a 1 cent of the sales tax would go back to the municipalities, which for us would be over 300,000. They want to put some stipulations on it. They want the money to be used for police, fire, EMS, and public works, which we can work with that here because we have needs in all of our departments. So those are kind of the conversations that are taking place on the municipal end. The biggest concerns I express is some of the regulation rollbacks they'd like to see, which I don't really think are the barriers for economic development. I would say, especially for our buildings, the big ticket items are elevators and sprinkler systems, not so much setbacks and other zoning things that aren't really relevant to a downtown redevelopment area. And then, a lot of the fine print talks about some local control measures that could be reduced. And of course, we always like to have more local control, not less. But overall, I think there's been pretty good progress in this budget cycle. So you'll probably hear more in the next several weeks here as they hopefully get closer to getting it to the governor's desk, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, that 1 cent you were talking about on the sales tax, is that sustainable or just like a one-time deal?
It would be sustainable. In the last 20 years, the sales tax revenue has gone up every year the last 20 years, except for 1 year during the recession. So they feel pretty confident it'll be sustainable. Just part of the argument I've been making all along is the prices of everything goes up. The sales tax collections, whether it's the state or the county, their revenues have gone up, and that's what's contributed partially to the state surplus. So they do feel that will be a sustainable revenue source going forward as well.
All right. And one final question for you. When you're talking about the grants and that for redevelopment type thing, would that include things like brownfield redevelopment and blighted properties redevelopment, that sort of thing, or a different category?
Yeah, I think it's more for downtown main streets like ours.
Oh, okay.
But, they never talked to me first, because if they would have, I would have told them that we already have one revolving loan fund through the RDA that was TIF money from the TIF 4 that closed. And then recently the council approved starting the second revolving loan fund using ARPA money. So, but, if it's a huge project, they may need to tap into all three. So, I think that, at least they're recognizing the needs out there and trying to come up with ways to address them. But, we like to provide multiple options and have the flexibility to do so, especially in our downtown, because a lot of it would be historical preservation. So if they were to give money, toward the local landmarks commissions, that would be helpful as well.
That would at least keep or give us more local control with it then too. So.
Right, but they're not just going to give us the money. They want to really, make
Strings
determinations on how it's going to be spent.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Mayor. Anybody else? Communications? All right. Dave attached in a whole bunch of reports in there that we normally see during this meeting. Do anybody have any questions about some of those reports in there? The only one I was thinking about was one that was summarizing the TID funds in there, and I see that TID 8 still drawing, or still spending money, so it keeps driving it further negative. And I wondered if we got a plan for that one.
Yeah, there's going to be an RDA meeting on June 12th, which is the same night as our plan commission. So we're trying to figure out if there's a way that Rodney and I can attend both. And we expect to get more information for where Brink is in the process down there. We need to get some, revenue. And the only way that's going to happen is when we start going vertical on the buildings.
Yeah.
So recently they've had conversations about, instead of doing multi-unit, doing condos instead, which we think would be a good option, which will actually create more increment, which is a positive. But he's going through the process of doing his due diligence. And then we're also having conversations about whether or not we should move forward with the remaining part of the riverbank work. I know Rodney had a meeting on that today. I wasn't at that meeting, but so there's discussions because there's grant money and timelines and things like that that we have to meet. So those are all conversations that are occurring.
Lisa?
And is it usually the case that he's got to have about half of it sold before the banks will give the money?
For, most banks, so that could potentially take a bit of time. Am I right about that?
Yeah, that would be part of his due diligence is Kurt has indicated to us that he has his own marketing team. So part of their due diligence would be put together a marketing plan and then understand exactly how many units he'd have to pre-sell and what that might look like. I don't know what that exact number is, but it's a good portion of them.
Yeah.
But we also feel that they'll be a very desirable place to live, so we'll keep our fingers crossed.
All right. Anybody have any other questions on any of the reports listed in there? All right. Then next is I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the May 9th Finance Committee meeting. Motion by Lisa. Is there a second? Second by Ozzy. Any edits, questions about it? All right, seeing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
And are any opposed? All right, those minutes are accepted. New business items are resolution for the Bickley Court reconstruction project contract, which we'll see later tonight.
So this one's actually my item.
Yep.
So this item, you might recall, we had to split out the North Street portion of it. The utility component of that was quite pricey. So we split that out of the bid package, parsed it down just to the Bickley Court project. And in doing so, there's really no utility aspect of it. So it's all stormwater and street construction. Actually quite fortunate we were able to get five interested bidders on this project. You can see the prices range a fair amount, but we actually got one that the lowest, which we consider responsive, was less than kind of our engineer's estimate, or the amount that it would have been in the last bidding scenario. So I think there was some positives from it. We're hoping that we can move forward with approving the resolution to proceed with this at tonight's council meeting as well.
And Rodney, was this the one that, I might be getting it confused with one of the other ones, is this the one that we had to actually increase the budgeted amount that we thought for it because things were coming in higher?
So what Dave and the committee talked about was upon approval of all the contracts, we'll bring back a kind of a budget adjustment. We're under budget for the total amounts.
Yep.
It's reallocation to the different
Got it.
segments of the budget will take place as part of an amendment process at a future date.
Got it.
This one was part of the North Street originally, wasn't it?
Yeah, we took out the North Street, so that's not part of this project any longer. And actually, you'll see in tonight's council agenda, we have the public hearing and the special assessment hearing related to the special assessments. The special assessments are still listed in there for the North Street component, even though we're not proceeding with it. Obviously, those properties will not receive bills or invoices or even anything more than their preliminary estimates that they received before. So that's just extra material for you for tonight.
So is that one for when that resolution comes up, then do we amend to remove the North Street bids?
We certainly can. I don't think it hurts anything if we don't, because we only invoice based on the actual quantities that are installed.
Okay.
But we certainly could.
Right.
Again, I don't think it's a requirement to do so.
Yeah, maybe just make a clarifying point
Yep.
about that, just so that
Yep.
everyone's
That they
clear
wouldn't
on
be
it.
applicable.
Yep, okay. And then the North Street will come up again, or rebid out in the next year, maybe?
We're trying to figure that out with utilities on when things can, you can understand there's some pretty complex maneuvering of projects with utilities on
Right.
when they can fit certain things and priorities, everybody's priorities. And complicating that is the school district is planning to do some work in that area, so we may delay it more than a year
Okay.
in spite of that or because of that.
I've heard in talking with their B&G person over there that they weren't exactly anticipating where the utilities had come in from that or into that property, that they go in through the community gym, and then into the rest of the buildings. Or that's like, yeah, they're routed in from the street through the community building, and then they branch.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so. So, yeah, there may be some workings around that.
Sure.
Anyway. All right, did anyone have any other questions about this contract? If none, I would entertain a motion to recommend to council. All right, motion by Ozzy, is there a second?
Either way.
Everybody.
Mhm.
All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
And are any opposed? All right, we'll recommend that up to council tonight. Next bit up that we've got is the resolution approving the agreement to undertake the Magnolia Springs development.
So this is also mine.
Yep.
City Attorney and I have been working to put this together. As you know, we've been working through the various steps related to the Magnolia Springs, and we actually have the plat and zoning on there on the council tonight. This would be one step in the process of approval. All of our conditions of approval require us to actually enter into a development agreement. The first one is a master development agreement, and the reason it's really classified as a master development agreement is because this plat is going to be built over multiple phases, likely just 2 phases, but nonetheless, that's why the master kind of has the framework of the overall environment of the agreement. And then the second item that you'll be acting on is called the Subdivisions Improvements Agreement, and that's related to really the Phase 1 public improvements. So with the city attorney and my development in consultation with the developer, we recommend approval of both. These do not go to council tonight. These would be at council 2 weeks from tonight,
Okay, yep.
or the next meeting.
The, in seeing it phased out or set up in multiple phases, I mean, obviously they can't build everything all at once, clearly, but
Right.
so the phase 1, I'm assuming, is just to get maybe some of the properties sold and starting to develop, but mostly to do the street and utilities.
Yeah, it's focused around how they can service it, but also kind of the logical development from a northerly portion southerly. So it would extend Page Street south, kind of do the loop of the area of the twin homes and single-family homes off to the west side of that quadrant. And then the subsequent phases would require the connection of the street over to South 4th Street,
Okay,
and then the continuation of Page Street all the way to Acker Road.
so they wouldn't have to complete phase 1 or move further enough to completion in phase 1, they wouldn't necessarily put that 4th Street connection in until they're ready to begin on 2.
Yeah, we have language in here that says that connection to 4th Street has to be completed by the end of construction season in 2025.
Oh,
So I think it
okay.
was November 1st. So
All
even
right.
though that might be part of a larger phase,
Right.
that piece of it has to be constructed by, again, I think it's November 1 of 2025.
Okay. I mean, I could definitely see where that would benefit them into getting materials in to the deeper parts of the development.
Yeah, so as you visualize it, there's really a farm field off of Acker,
Yeah.
so they're doing a lot of
Yep.
maneuvering of equipment
Right.
and supplies through that. One of the big hindrances of having that first phase include the connection to 4th Street specifically is there's a pretty large, substantial stormwater infrastructure component that has to be made, as well as the street being extended to 4th Street really only has lots on the south side of the street, so there's not as rapid a payback, if you will, related to that. So that's why we recognized it by looking at kind of the construction schedule. Even phase 1, in reality, most of the buildings won't be constructed in there until sometime in 2024 and into 2025. So that's why we reflected on the fact that occupancy of those in totality won't likely occur until 2025. So.
Okay. Do they have to, I mean, even though that was a farm field, so it should be relatively graded, do they have to move a lot of dirt? Because I know the terrain change when you get over toward Fourth is pretty extreme.
Yeah, so good question, but there is certainly earthwork that has to be done, and part of that's because they're trying to avoid the installation of a sanitary lift station. So they're actually
Yeah.
bringing up the grade on a fair amount.
Okay.
And you'll recognize, we put some notes on the plat that require notification of the property owners when they purchase it, they know the basement elevation. But that could change based on the amount of fill and the public improvements that are put in based on that raised fill amount.
As a tangent to this one, do you know whether or not, do they have to have an archaeological survey done on that because of other sites that have been found around the area?
So they've already had the wetlands area evaluated, and I believe they did the the cursory
Okay.
investigation as well.
Okay,
So,
all right, I'm done yapping. Do you guys have any questions on this one? All right, if no questions, then I would entertain a motion to recommend to council.
So moved.
Motion by Lisa, is there a second?
Second.
You want it, Dave?
I got them down.
Dave's got it. All right, any other questions on that? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And are any opposed? All right, we'll recommend that one to council to see that in 2 weeks. All right, next is a corollary to that one, and this is a resolution to approve the agreement for the subdivision improvements of Phase 1 and Phase 1A in Magnolia Springs.
In Phase 1A, just to clarify, just so I don't have the illustration up, but it's really that one segment
Yeah.
of the street going to 4th Street. So it's
Yeah.
really that small area.
All right, any questions on this one? All right, then I would entertain a motion to recommend this one to council. Motion by Greg, is there a second? Dave's got two.
Sure does.
Any other questions on this one? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
And are any opposed? All right, we'll make that recommendation to council in 2 weeks. Then, next up is a resolution authorizing the agreement with Payne and Dolan for the Virgin Lake Trail construction project.
I think Dan Glenn's on.
Oh.
Yeah,
Dan's
I
on.
can,
There you
I
go.
can speak to this. So, this past month we amended the budget for this project and we rebid it and we ended up getting 3 bids, with Payne and Dolan being the low bid. And we ended up being about $55,000 under the amended budget. So obviously Payne and Dolan's done a bunch of work with the city and MSA recommends to going with them.
Dan, how much did you say that was under the budget? I missed that.
Roughly 55,000.
Okay. That's certainly better than the other direction, so. All right, did anybody have any questions about these?
When would they start work on this?
Dan, you know the answer to that one, of when they would begin construction on that?
Yeah, it's, it would be after July 1st, so it'd be later this summer. I'm sorry, I missed that.
No worries. And then an ETA on a completion on that one?
Before the end of the year, so during this, end of the construction season.
Okay. Is that what you're looking for, Ozzy? All right. All right. Does anybody have any other questions on this one? I know we've kind of seen this one a little bit back and forth already. If none, then I would entertain a motion to recommend this to council. Dave's got the move. Second by Lisa. Any other questions on this? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And are any opposed? All right, we will recommend that to council for later tonight. Next up, we have a budget amendment to approve some ARPA funds for Stoughton's Juneteenth event. And I believe we've got our guest here to talk about this a little further.
Yeah, basically the city was approached by a group of citizens that wanted to hold a Juneteenth, and they asked if the city could help to participate. I think they're working with one of the local nonprofit groups, and the request came after we had our ARPA meetings, so I reached out to President Hirsch, and she suggested that we put it on the agenda, and we have a guest here to speak to it.
All right.
To talk, do I need to hit the red button?
You're
or
on.
is-
Yeah,
It's on,
yeah.
okay. You've seen the proposal. There is a small typo. At the top, it says $1,000, and then when you look at the bottom, the total says 2,000. 2,000 is correct. Since you received that, we got verbal confirmation from Covenant Lutheran Church that they will offer $500 towards the costs. There are two different funds that they have, $250 from each one. There are questions I can answer, or additional context I can provide.
So the ask of the city is still 1,000 for ARPA?
2,000, please.
2,000.
Yep.
Okay,
As the bottom indicates,
got it.
total 2,000.
And I think what I would suggest is, if you're gonna entertain that, you would say up to 2,000 in case they don't need it all. And I haven't spoken to everybody in the group, but, the ARPA money is kind of a one-time thing. So we don't know if we'll be in a position, to assist financially next year.
Understandable.
And I just wanted to at least communicate that.
Okay, but we'll have to adjust the headers on the resolutions to reflect that quantity.
I did send a updated document to Regina, to Tim. I think I copied in Jean Lagaki and Sarah Esmond.
Okay,
Feel free to use that, but if there's a different process that you need to use to amend it.
I mean, just
understandable.
for our city headers as we introduce them, so.
Sure.
Lisa, do you have a question?
I did, so it looks like the request is for 2,000, or that's the total cost is 2,000, but you do have 500 pledged already, so would it be safe to say that 1,500 would
Absolutely
be reasonable?
not. No. We expect that final total will cost considerably more than 2,000. Food alone, conservative estimate, which I got from Yoli Beth earlier today. If we estimate cost of food approximately $10 a person, we're hoping for 100 people, that's $1,000 right there. We also, another big variable is we'd like to invite entertainers, dancers, poetry slam, other kinds of performers. The prices that these groups charge range considerably. None of them are less than $200 that I've seen. So depending upon how many of those we would be able to line up, the cost could increase considerably.
So have you, this may be jumping ahead, but have you given thought to plans for next year, fundraising plans? or-
Absolutely. And in fact, we've benefited greatly from knowledge from people like Yoli Beth who've undertaken this kind of thing in the past. We're already thinking about how, if we create signs, can we leave the date like maybe blank, and then we could add that with like an erasable marker, for example, so that we can use it multiple years. And then that way, knowing that this funding may not be something we can count on in future years, we're trying to plan ahead and get as much for the, bang for the buck, as the saying goes. We've followed some of the same channels to ask for funds as similar organizations have asked for in the past. So there is definitely an eye to try and build this and have some resources that we can turn to make the process easier in subsequent years.
Thank you.
Have you also reached out to the Bryant Foundation?
I'm sorry, to
Have
the
you
what?
also reached out to the Bryant Foundation?
How do you spell that?
That's Bryant, I believe, is in it, not ready? Yes.
I'm going to write that down. I
Yeah.
don't believe.
They are located out by the lake, and the Bryant Building is a rather large, impressive building out there.
They have a website too, I
Yeah,
think,
they do
don't
have a website, and I believe Jerry Grittenholm is still the head of it.
How do you spell Jerry's last name?
Grytenholm.
Wait. You can speak faster than I can type. Can you please say that again?
Grytenholm. I'm not sure if it has an EN or not.
Can you give that to me one more time, please?
Jerry Grittenholm. Grytenholm, I believe, or ME, I can't remember.
Okay. Thank you.
It's close enough. You'll see it when you go to the website.
Okay.
June Bunting might be the other one that you'd be talking to out there. Bunting, it's common spelling.
Okay.
You'll find Jerry's name around a lot, so.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
You're probably not going to get anything for this year, but it'll be something for next year.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I've noted that. Other questions, context I can provide?
So right now, the plan is to have the event on, I think it was June 18th at Rotary Park, I'm not really sure of the time of the event,
1 to 4.
1 to 4.
All right, any further questions on that? Ben, anything you wanted to add in?
I was making a motion to approve.
Okay, fantastic. There's,
Council minutes.
Ben, you want to make that with changes to the I don't think you heard me right. I was saying, Ben, did you want to leave that as $1,000, or did you want to make an amendment to the motion?
I'll move for $2,000.
Up to?
yeah,
I'll second that.
okay, yeah, I think that would be wise, just to be clear that the motion then is for up to $2,000 of ARPA dollars.
Yes.
Lisa, do you have a question?
I didn't remember seeing it. It's not on the council meeting for tonight, is it?
It should have been. I thought that was redlined.
Or maybe I
in there.
missed it. Maybe I'm missing it. Because my follow-up question was going to be, if it's not, then it seems like time is going to be, oh, there it is. It's on the very last item, so my apologies.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions about this resolution? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
And are any opposed? All right, we'll recommend that up to council later this evening.
Thank you very
you.
much.
that runs us through our business at hand. We've got still a number of future agenda items, and although I think we have less than we had before, so we are chipping away at our list here. So it looks like we've got a bunch of them coming up in June, so that's a good thing. Anybody have anything that they wanted to add in for future agenda items? Greg, I thought you were going to add one. You look like it.
I kind of do, but I'm not sure if it's what it
Okay.
is. Look at here, I had a concern about TIF 5.
Got it.
And I just was wondering, where are we with that? Maybe, it's something I should bring to the RDA or just go to one of their meetings and ask them. Just wondering where we are, where we stand with the contractor, what's going to happen. I mean, where are we financially in there? The information I can see on the website is not really current. So,
Yeah, I think the only thing that we had in there was not a lot of movement in there. I mean,
Yeah.
it was negative.
yep.
We transferred that amount in, that 16,000 in, and they stand at just a little bit underwater.
Yeah. But I wonder though if the contractor has backed away,
Hmm.
where do we stand? What are we going to do?
Okay.
Are we going to look to maybe changing our minds on what's going on here? Do we have to look at converting it into a park until somebody comes along and wants to build there?
Right.
Do we have to spend the money for that? It's in such a gray area right now. I just like to know what's going on with it. And I feel like we're in the dark on it.
Sounds like maybe a first good step might be with RDA to see
Yeah.
where they are with it, and if they've got negotiations going on or something like that.
Maybe if Regina was here, she could just give us a heads up on it next time.
Sure. All right. Do you want to add something, Lisa? Perfect.
No, I was just gonna say, did you say their meeting, the next meeting is?
Oh, on Plan Commission, yeah.
June 12th.
That's a regular meeting.
Yeah, usually they would meet, I think, on the 14th. They wanted the city attorney to be able to join them, and he was only available on the 12th.
Okay.
We haven't set the time yet. We're trying to coordinate the Plan Commission time kind of around it, and we're not really sure what else is going to be on either agenda at this point. So as we get closer, we'll figure out the times.
Well, I don't see where there's any hurry in it. It's just that, just when they know, when we have some solid information, it would be nice to be able to bring it to council.
I think hopefully we'll know more then than we do now. That's the hope.
All right. If no other items, then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. All right. Dave's got it. Second by Greg. Any objections to that? All right. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everybody.